finds itself in the middle of another controversy after banning researchers looking into how the platform operates. Academics at New York University were studying the spread of COVID-19 misinformation and what political ads users see on the social media site. So Facebook says the researchers violated its terms of service, but critics argue that the platform is trying to sideline the review. So for more on what's happening at Facebook, I want to bring in CBSN reporter Dan Patterson. So this is kind of interesting, Dan, because I presume in order to do this sort of research, Facebook has to give permission. And I'm pretty sure that the researchers make a pitch, say this is what they want to do and why. And Facebook says, here's the access to the information. So what went wrong here? How is Facebook defending its decision? And what are the researchers saying?
Hi, Anne-Marie. So these researchers at New York University had a programmatic approach. They used a plugin to the web browser or for a web browser that users could opt into and then voluntarily share information that they used in an academic way to study the impact of mis and disinformation on Facebook. And you're right, Facebook does provide tools, including an API. That's kind of the hook that allows researchers to get information out of Facebook. They also have ad libraries that contain how politicians use ads on Facebook. But these researchers said that Facebook's information was incomplete and that the tools were incredibly hard to use and didn't allow them to get full access to the information. Now, if you'll recall the Cambridge Analytica scandal, where against Facebook policies, the company Cambridge Analytica was scraping data, and a Facebook spokesperson did tell CBS News that research is not an excuse to break privacy rules and scrape user data, no matter what the intent. They also said that, as we will remember, we paid a $5 billion fine to the FTC for this scraping of data. However, the FTC responded promptly and fairly sharply by saying that they were disappointed in Facebook and, quote, the consent decree does not bar Facebook from creating exceptions for good faith research in the public interest. And that is apparently what this NYU research was doing. So although this is a little sticky, Facebook's excuses were sharply refuted by both the FTC and the researchers who are conducting this study.
That's really interesting. I think that, people are kind of aware of the fact that Facebook probably collects data and uses it for, I don't know, ads, targeted ads. But maybe there's other things, too, that I didn't know about. How does Facebook and its properties collect users' personal information, and what does it do with that information?
Facebook is very opaque about the information that they gather about users, but it is very clear from research conducted like the NYU Ad Observatory and many other researchers that Facebook gathers a lot of information about you, whether you want them to or not, including your IP address, the websites you visit before and after Facebook, the apps you use, all sorts of private information that will fingerprint you or identify you, or at least your behaviors. Facebook says that this is not opaque and that they provide a number of different FAQs and information that users can read and find out about what they gather. But this has been a controversy for a long time, and researchers always argue that Facebook is not exactly transparent and that like they did with the FTC, they often find excuses for doing this that aren't also transparent.
So in regards to the research that was being done by NYU, looking at political ad targeting and misinformation, did they find anything? I'm really curious.
So they found quite a bit, actually. They found how and why politicians target users, and they found the types of keywords and the types of ads that are used for targeting. They also found a lot of information about how COVID-19 vaccine information spreads across the internet. And they found that far-right misinformation gets a heck of a lot more engagement on Facebook than most political political content. So they found a lot of stuff that could potentially be pretty embarrassing to Facebook, or at least contradictory to or contradicts what Facebook's public statements have said in the past.
I would like to know because, often when I talk to go back and forth with some of my Facebook friends, it's like we're on completely different platforms. The stuff that is suggested to some of my friends is radically different than what I see. And I was, following President Trump on Facebook, but I didn't get a lot of particular types of ads and postings that some of my other friends did. Facebook is getting a lot of pushback from this decision, but what sort of precedent does it set? The way that Facebook is treating these researchers and, its connection to just other media companies being accountable or transparent.
Almost everyone I spoke with said that this sets a very scary precedent because Facebook deleted the personal accounts of the researchers, and they did this without warning
Wow.
or notice. Now, Facebook did tell these researchers at NYU in November that they were in violation of Facebook's policies, but the nuking of the personal accounts sets a pretty scary precedent, especially for anyone who relies on Facebook to connect with family, friends, or loved ones. Having that access simply cut off and cut off instantly, it's a warning shot. And it tells other researchers who are trying to find similar information about Facebook that, hey, you should think twice before doing this, or your account could be shut off as well.
Wow. Dan, thank you so much.
Good to see you.